Hi, you're listening to Boggy Talk, Faith Conversations in the Mud, a resource of Church on Bayshore.
Well, hey, and thanks for joining us today on Boggy Talk. How's everyone?
I'm feeling a little claustrophobic.
Just a little. Why? If you're not watching, why are you feeling claustrophobic?
We are setting a world record for Boggy Talk participants today.
World record.
World record. Exactly. So this is a world record.
I am feeling loved and joy. That's what I'm
You're
feeling.
You're like crammed in the middle.
Yes. Yeah.
But doing great. It's graduation week. My oldest is graduating, so if I'm weeping, that's why. And I'll enjoy. But
yeah, that's awesome.
I think I cried at y'all's graduation a little bit last year too. So,
John's graduating.
I know.
Yeah.
I won't cry for you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so excited.
Yeah.
Well, today we have three very special guests. Never been on Boggy Talk before, right? No. Okay, so very fresh, new. We have Joseph Costa, Alaina Bludworth, and Jon Gardner.
Good job. Jon Gardner.
So the reason why you guys are on today, you're just amazing and awesome. We wanted to have you, but also you are our new interns for the summer. So
congratulations, you just found that out right now.
You made it.
Yep, we did it.
You made the cut. So, so we're super excited to have you guys here just as interns, helping out with everything, but also today on Boggy Talk. So our series, we've been doing a sermon series titled Drift, and our Boggy Talk series has also been following that. So each week we've just kind of been going over the last sermon, talking about drift, how it applies to us, and things like that. So today we are talking about the drift, which has been a kind of a crisis of ministerial people going into ministry. But before we do that, I wanted
ministerial people going into ministry.
I was like, ministerial candidates.
The crisis is the quality of people. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I was able to...
That's a little bit of it.
That is a little bit of it.
Know you guys your names, but do you want to just tell us, like, where you're going to school, maybe what your degree plan is, just real quickly, and then we can jump right into our topic.
Yeah, so my name is Alaina. I'm going to Southeastern University, a Christian college in Lakeland, Florida, and I am majoring in ministerial leadership with a minor in marketing.
Nice. I'm Jon, and I don't know exactly what I want to be, but I'm just want to trust where God's calling me, and whether that's being a missionary or working in a church or doing vocational ministry, I'm here for it.
Yeah. What a great attitude.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. That's like the modern "Here am I, send me."
That's right. I'm here for it.
I'm here for it.
That's right.
I'm going to use that, just so you know.
For it.
Okay.
Sign me up.
Yeah, well, that's great. I'm Joseph. I'm also going to Southeastern and Lakeland. I'm a double major in commercial music and ministerial leadership. But yeah,
like making music for commercials.
No, it's that's a common misconception.
This makes me think of Uncle Danny on Full House. That's what he did. Uncle Jesse. He wrote jingles. The jingle man on Full House. Uncle Jesse.
Wow. Have to rewatch Full House.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what that actually is I get to kind of since I did a lot of like classes to like get almost my whole AA in high school, I decided to go. Instead of doing like a worship studies degree, I decided to dive a little bit deeper into the ministerial side, and then also into the music side, so I can do some more like music tech stuff, music business stuff, to kind of just to explore both options and how I can put them together well.
Yeah, that's
good job legitimizing that after.
Good now job. We all understand. Well, that's great. Well, yeah, so our topic today is talking about how there's a lack of people like you, basically. So we had some articles that just had shared a lot of data, and basically it was just sharing that there is this crisis. The 1980s, it kind of started that there was this lack of people going into the ministry. And so we're just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit more, hear you guys, your thoughts about why you think that is, and then talk about how you guys are different from that. So starting out, what do you think what do you think are some of the main reasons?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think, this probably is something that a lot of our Boggy Talk listeners have no clue about because maybe they don't care. Their churches have been healthy.
Still think about it, yeah.
Yeah, but it is something that you're hearing in every denomination, every theological institution, every seminary, Bible college, is the absolute reality of a lack of ministerial candidates. And so they're saying we're trying to plant churches, right? Because to keep pace with the population growth in America and the lostness in America, we need to plant more churches, but we don't even have enough pastoral candidates to replace the current pastors that are. So if in the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to see churches closing their doors because they don't have pastors. So it's a major issue. I think there's several factors. I will say when I went to Bible college, and so this was 20 years ago almost, there were probably a lot of people who shouldn't have been there. And churches were kind of getting bloated in staff. And then the recession hit in 2008. And I think it was very discouraging for a lot of people who wanted to go into ministry. Just kind of that whole realization that maybe churches were, at least some churches were a little fat when it comes to staff, and they didn't need as many. I think that's probably been a major issue in the last 20 years. But I do think a lot of the cultural trends are the reality. I mean, you could. I don't know if you want to talk about those or
Yeah.
Justin, sorry.
I would just say, I think that generational trends too. You can read studies on how the Boomer generation maybe stayed or didn't overstayed in leadership, and it simultaneously
is overstaying.
Yeah, still right. I mean,
they're
and that's
still
not
here.
to say that they're not valuable, but simultaneously hasn't been a focus in church leadership necessarily on leadership development and pipelines and raising up the next generation. There's been a lot of the circuit of hey, you work at this size church until you feel like you're done there, and then you move on to a bigger church.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say, really, there is a shift in the past, decade to 20 years of really raising up leaders within the church, giving people valuable experience. That coupled with just the fact that, there's a lot. I mean, we're kind of in a day and age too where now people can. You go to college and you get a degree, and you don't have to really get a job in that degree, or you might in some fields, but you kind of can make up your own job in some ways. And so I think some people, our economy's tough. It's tough to make a long haul living in ministry compared to other industries,
that's a
and in the
major
market.
factor.
That's a huge factor right now, specifically. So there's lots of reasons.
Yeah. Well, one of the articles kind of broke down. They had 5 main reasons, and so I figured I'd kind of just share the reason, and then we can talk about what your thoughts are on that. So the first one, you kind of mentioned that bigger is not better. So that idea that, well, first I started at a really small church and then I go more, but that's not the shift that's happening right now with millennials, actually. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think so has happened with millennials because I'm a millennial and I'm 42, so millennials are a lot of times when people talk about millennials now they're talking about Gen Z.
I know they think they're talking about 20-year-olds. It's actually that's not that generation. There's a new one.
So this is you guys are young Gen Z and I'm old millennial, so that's 2 generations. So just to understand that, I do. I think that. What he said is not, I would say to a detriment, there were a lot of guys who saw ministry as a profession and a corporate climbing of the ladder, kind of with the church growth movement that took place and all that. And in a good way, I think that's gone. But the problem is you have all those mega churches that are a lot of times taking the more talented, skilled people, and the smaller churches then can't get somebody. Because a lot of those guys that are really great and women that are really great will be but I can feed my family here. You know? So I think these smaller churches are being cannibalized sometimes.
Well, and then because right now we have so many baby boomers, but we don't have people that are filling their spots.
Right.
And the millennials are not wanting to move into that.
Right, into
next
those churches
part.
and those
so
spots,
it's just kind of this, everyone's stuck. So,
Yeah, and I think it's hard to find. I mean, even in searching for positions here at this church, and you talk to other church leaders around, like you recognize, it's hard to find certain positions. But I think in general, it's because. Like we talked about earlier, you get a degree, you can kind of find a field, but it's hard to break into like the level of responsibility that you may want, at a young age in a church versus what you should have.
That's a great point.
And so there's like, I tell people all the time, and there's lots of studies that show like, hey, the future of ministry is probably bivocational because you're going to need something to supplement your income. And I think some people, like you can Aaron, go ahead.
That's a great point. So if Joseph graduated at 22 and wanted to come back here and be youth pastor, and Jacob wasn't here anymore. Sorry, or he had moved on. Sorry, we wouldn't just kick Jacob out if he's listening. But
what are you doing it for?
Even if we told the church like, hey, this is a 22-year-old and he's in this role, there is still instantly the expectation on him of a 30-year-old.
Yeah, and that's not fair.
And that's not fair because he doesn't have that experience, And I do think a lot of younger people are like, I'm not doing that.
Right,
I don't know if you guys want to comment on that at all. Yeah.
No, yeah, I think that's a great point. Something like for me that's never been that huge of a thing for me, I guess, because I kind of have gotten kind of acclimated to the just kind of expected more of myself, just like in my family and things like that as well. Like that's kind of how firstborn. Yeah, exactly, firstborn type stuff. So it's. That's not a huge thing for me, but I definitely can see where that would be something for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think also within ministry, it's so opposing to the world's view of work and career. And so in ministry, you have to start from the bottom and say, I can't be prideful when it comes to this. I have to be humble when I walk into being a youth pastor. But in the career industry where people are more likely going, pride is important.
Right.
And
you have to sell yourself.
It's valued. And so when you go to college, especially at a secular university, you're being told that you have to sell yourself. And so when ministry comes up, it's like, why would I do that? Why would I do the opposite of what I'm being taught to do?
Right. Yeah. That is tough. Like in an interview, which you guys just had an interview for this role even, you're like, okay, I need to be confident in who I am, but also they're going to think I'm prideful. So it's like,
that's all.
But you can't be in the interview well, honestly, I just am not worthy of this job.
Don't pick me.
Don't hire me.
Yeah.
Don't hire me.
Don't just work for sure. Well, we touched on this a little bit. The second reason this article had mentioned was that boomer pastors are retiring and dying.
That's
the way you said
dying.
They are.
There's insufficient replacements available. Like I said, we kind of mentioned that.
And to clarify, too, that doesn't mean that boomers shouldn't be still in ministry, but it does mean you do reach a certain age where you say, hey, I should be clearing away for the next generation and move into almost like a grandfatherly role of supporting and giving wisdom and undergirding rather than trailblazing and top down.
Right.
So,
We've talked about that a lot for us, is that the primary demographic to reach in our community is 30 to 45 because of the military and because of the schools and who they attract here. So if I'm still the pastor here as I hit closer to 60, I want key leaders who are the age I am now and younger in those roles because I think as a senior pastor, I could still be kind of the shepherd, but I need younger people who are speaking into situations, who are giving me good things to say, I'm here for it, that kind of stuff.
And those younger people have to be going to college now for that. You know what I mean? That to happen. And so that's this whole point is that that's not happening. And so what is going to happen?
But I do know a lot of my peers who have experienced frustration with pastors who are in their mid 60s to mid 70s and not giving away ministry,
Right.
not trusting people.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Passing the mantle.
I've experienced that. I personally
Yeah,
I
I can see
haven't,
that.
but I know a lot who've had bad,
Yeah.
intimidated by personality, all those things.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, another reason is that a lot of times whenever pastors become part of a church, they're also very intertwined with the community. And so they don't want to leave to go to another church because they've just made bonds and, so that's a hard reality as well. You guys experienced that? I mean, you both had to kind of leave one community for another. That is a tricky thing.
I felt like a piece of me died when I had to do that. I mean, honestly,
too.
like it
Me
was
too.
hard. I mean, we did that, within a year of each other, and
You
it was.
cried a lot.
I did. I was so sad. Like I did. I
remember talking to you on the phone.
was like, I can't.
You're like,
do
I'm
it.
not a crier, which you're not. Now
I
that
know.
I've worked with you for 7 years, but I was like,
It's like-
he is a crier. I don't know
But
why
I'm
you keep
not.
saying that.
I just got every time. I promise I'm not. Like just because of that. Like if you feel called, not just because what you want in someone in ministry is that it's not a job. Like it is a job because we got to provide for our families and got to eat. But like it is a calling, and so you want someone who cares so much that it hurts when when God leads them somewhere else, and that they're not opportunistic. They're not just seeking the next best thing. And so, that is incredibly difficult. And I know some who just, and I was one of those that for a little bit until I was like, Lord, I'm falling apart. Like it just even physically was not in a good place because I was disobedient. And I knew that if I continued in disobedience, that it was only going to get worse because
Right.
the Lord loves me enough to discipline those who love. So that was incredibly hard. And I think that you want that. But some people aren't willing to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think we're missionaries where we are.
Yeah.
I that's how I see my role is that I'm a missionary, not just a pastor. And so I think the fact that we're seeing younger millennials and Gen Z just be like, I really feel called to a place and a people. I just think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
good.
do.
Yeah.
Are you guys here? Is that what you're
Yeah, I
from your
definitely,
peers?
I
and you?
definitely agree with that. Like, the involvement in the community is such an important thing, and because that, like you were saying, like we're missionaries, and not only you guys, but us as not even interns, but
Right.
church members, we should all be going out and into our own community and be doing the mission. That's
Yeah. That's good.
It reminds me of, I don't know what it is. It's in the Gospels when Jesus is saying, whoever leaves their family, their reward will be greater, and they'll have more family in
For
heaven.
my sake, yep.
Yeah, and so
Luke.
I think he's validating that feeling of how difficult it is to leave, but he's also saying, I need you to go make more family now so that we can all be together in heaven.
Yeah.
So I think
great.
that's definitely a biblical idea to have that difficulty, but also to let the Lord strengthen you to go.
That's good.
Yeah. Another reason is that some pastors, they step into a role where it's like they have this huge facility that's falling apart. Maintenance hasn't. Maybe it was a dying church, and then they're trying to come in and revitalize what's going on. So they're thinking, well, they want to be in this pastoral type of care and role and preaching and teaching, but then they're going to be spending a lot of time doing facilities and fundraising
Right.
and debt. When you're coming into a church that has acquired a lot of debt, and now you're having to take that on and figure out how you're going to manage that. That's a tall order, So that's another reason why people are not wanting to take that on.
That's a great point. I even say sometimes, that to our staff when they're coming on board, you'll be surprised at how much you do that isn't actually ministry. Like it is about ministry, but it is you're hired to do a job. So you've got to work that out, that you don't let that become all that you do, because then why are you in ministry, right?
Yeah.
Because there's just so much in a church our size with our facilities, with our programming. But I do think by God's grace, everything is headed towards a vision, but there's a lot of smaller churches with bigger buildings and big debt, and maybe not big debt, but just keeping up a building that's 15, 20,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Just keeping it insured, keeping it maintenance.
It's a lot.
It's a lot that you don't actually have money to do ministry.
Yeah.
And why?
Yeah.
Why do you want to I wouldn't want to do that unless the Lord told me go do that.
Well, and it speaks to like the larger church you are, the more specialized your staff can be. They don't have to be as general in their expertise. But with the majority of churches being smaller churches, this highlights the fact that there's an incredible amount of, there's a broad skill set that pastors really have to be equipped with that you're not necessarily trained in, because people think about going into ministry. Well, I get to just like disciple people, share the gospel, preach. Well, and you got to fundraise, and you got to administrate, and you got to do all this. There's a lot of other skills that
graphic design.
Yeah, really. Oh, now guess what? Y'all said
believe it or not, guys, I used to do some graphic design at our last church. Like, you probably don't
you
believe
have
that.
to.
We did some stuff earlier today.
That's right. And so you just have to understand that like that in most other jobs there's a lane.
Yeah.
You know, and in ministry there's a broad map.
So broad.
You know, so
and context switching can be tough. Like again, we're a little bit. I mean, we are a larger. We're not a mega church, but we're top 10% of size churches in our country. So like I don't have to do a lot of that stuff in my role, but there are days I'm like I'm going from marriage counseling to having a conversation about budget to studying Judges.
Yeah.
And like a lot of pastors in smaller churches and like, you know, church staff in smaller churches, like they're doing all kinds of stuff, and that can just be overwhelming.
Yeah,
it really can be.
For sure. Yeah, especially if one is not your strength.
Right.
You know, so you're having to work harder, and there's more
Yeah.
mental capacity that's used there. The last reason is with the cost, inflation, moving, people just don't want to relocate. They're like, this is, I mean, especially you can even just go from one end of the county to the other.
That's right.
And it'd be very different. And so that's difficult, you know, just that whole
She's looking at you, Okaloosa.
process.
that's right.
Yeah.
Which Crestview is getting more and more expensive too.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I think what we haven't talked about is so a lot of people go to Bible college. They have to take out some student loans. And then, the pay is not what their friends who are getting bachelors,
Yeah, that
even
wasn't
teaching,
even on here.
you know, like is. It's just not.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that that's not why we do it, but it is hard. It's a hard reality,
Right.
Especially if they have a family and don't have a couple years to build. And then, like you said, relocating, and a lot of churches don't offer relocation assistance, even though, if you were switching with a company, they paid for you to move.
Yeah.
Like, it's just hard to even make the numbers work for, I think, some people.
Right, yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Well, so that's a lot of gloom and doom there.
Aren't you excited to think about the future?
But you're here.
Yes,
You're
you're
here for
You're
it,
the
Jon
first
Gardner.
You're here for it, yeah.
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 So I guess, what is y'all's response to this? What just makes you keep going? Okay, Lord, this is what I know you wanted me to do, and regardless, of these things, this is what I know you've called me to do.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, it's kind of a bland answer, but I love God, and it's out of that love is where my response comes from. Of I'm ready to just kind of do whatever you're calling me to do, whatever you need me to do for your glory, and it's really as simple as that
That's
for
not
me.
bland.
Yeah.
That's great.
That is
Spicy.
Jon.
Yeah, and it's important just to trust where you are, because God's put you there for a reason, and to be building those relationships wherever you are, and then whenever God is calling you to go somewhere else, to do that. And well, I mean, there's really nothing to it except just to do it, and it's just so important to just continue being with God, because if you're doing it, if you're in the ministry and you're not maintaining your relationship with the community and with God, if you're not just continuing to sanctify yourself and do that, then it'll just all be for naught. And so I just want to grow my relationship with God and continue to see where He's calling me in specific and broad
Yeah.
That's good.
outcomes.
It's great.
I think it's the same for me, obviously, as Joseph's answer. You just love Jesus, and there's a response that comes with that. And I didn't become a Christian until I was 16. And so for those first 16 years of my life, I had this plan for how my life was going to go. And, I was doing acting and all this different kinds of stuff. So, like, my main goal was to end up in Hollywood. And then when I met Jesus, it was like, I don't care about any of it anymore. Like, none of it matters. And so it's just like, once Jesus has transformed your heart, it's just like, well, what do you want me to do? And ministry just seemed like the obvious answer to me. And especially with doing, like, missions and everything, I feel like I want to go into a career that's going to make a difference eternally. And to me, that is ministry. And I do believe that you can be in ministry in whatever field that you end up in. But for me personally, I just wanted to go full in and full time so that I could be, pruned as much as I could be and learn as much as I could and be the best disciple that I could be and do everything for His glory. So
That's good.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yeah, how did this happen for you? Like, we get what's driving you, but like, kind of, I think we can learn from that. Like, how did you recognize this call on your life? I know you're still discerning some of that fully, but how did you? I just hit my hand on that pretty hard.
But absolutely, like, so I think, like, for me, like, I know that I'm called in some way to glorify God through music. I think that's kind of what I've come to the conclusion of, at least right now. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. But I think, like, music is a huge part of my testimony, like, from when I started coming to this church and actually attending church regularly and started playing with the worship team and things like that. Like, it's just, I feel like that's really my way of, like, connecting with God. And so I think, like, I kind of figured out, okay, this is kind of what I want to do with the rest of my life. And just thinking about really doing anything with the rest of my life and not doing it to glorify God and to help, like, spread His name everywhere, like, it doesn't make any sense in my mind. Like, it really just, it makes no sense to me. I'm like, why would I even do that?
But what I heard is that you had opportunities to exercise that.
Yeah.
Like, you had the desire, and I know, Justin and Alec gave you
Absolutely.
opportunities.
Right.
Being able to do that for the last 5-6 years and just grow in those things now and continue to grow are the biggest things for me.
That's good.
I guess we'll just keep going.
Growing up in a church family and in just that environment where there's a lot of people around you that do have good knowledge and good spiritual maturity and stuff, seeing that and imitating those people, the leaders in your church and your parents and your siblings, it just definitely helped me just learn how to be a Christian, learn how to follow Jesus. And then once I started doing that myself and starting my relationship with God and really just growing and reading the Word more consistently, you learn a lot. And you know that God's always there. And even if I'm not, like, listening to Him at the moment, He's still there, and He still wants me to do something, wants me to be with Him. And so, I just want to be with Him and wherever that is.
Yeah, but you mentioned examples of several people in your life, so that's cool to hear. Alaina?
Mine's kind of different. So like I said, I didn't come to faith in Jesus until I was 16. So when I was 16, we went to FUH camp with the church in Bayshore in 2023. And they do, obviously, like, the call to ministry. It's very exciting or whatever. But they were leading us in prayer and just, like, come up to the altar if you feel the call to ministry on your heart. And I was like, absolutely not. It's like, after this, I'm going to go audition for a couple movies. And, like, no, I'm not doing that. And it was nothing against church or anything. It was just like, no, I have better things to do. And then I was like, okay, well, we've been learning a lot about prayer, and, like, that's become a part of my life, so let me just pray about it. And so I started praying, and then all of a sudden I just, like, stood up and started walking, and I did not make the conscious decision to do that, but I just really felt like God was leading me into that. And I'm a very visual person, so I just started, like, seeing images of my mind of, like, Christian speaking and, almost taking a platform in such a different way than I had ever seen before in my life, and not taking a platform for me or as me, but as the Holy Spirit through me. And so that really, I was just like, okay, well, I don't know what this means. I don't know what the steps are. I don't know how to get there, but I'm just going to trust God to lead me to that. And so ever since then, it's just been kind of a step-by-step process, and going to a Christian university, studying the Bible, and now church internship. So it's just been step-by-step from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I didn't grow up in church either, so I was about Alaina's age when I got serious about Christ and struggled for a little while. So when I first felt called, and then whenever I finally was like, yes, it was similar. It was not like I didn't have a vision that God appeared to me, but it was like that. It was like I could see what I was reading and hearing. And so it is interesting because yours is probably more like them. I'm assuming you grew up in the church. You know.
For sure. I was just thinking as you're sharing why it's so important that we give people opportunities.
Yeah.
Because I think I wouldn't have really thought about ministry because I had a very different plan for my life as well.
Opera, right? Opera?
Before that, it was medicine. I was, I was a chemistry major. And, and then it was,
He
doesn't want to talk about that right now.
I was on that road. And
he's got some pipes.
I just,
Believe it or not.
the Lord. But I think there were people along the way. I mean, I remember my pastor, even when I was a student, and then he asked me to come and be the summer interim youth pastor one summer. He was old. I mean, I felt like he was old at that time, but looking back, he
was probably our age.
He was definitely at the time in his 60s.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
But he and he was a giant of a man. Like he was probably 6'7". Like he was just a giant man.
Oh.
Like,
I thought you meant figuratively.
No, but both. But I felt that way. But I remember him saying, "Hey," and he didn't give me a choice. Like he was like, "Hey, you're gonna come with me,
6'7".
and you're gonna do this."
Yeah.
And it was like he was like my old chief. He was a minister. He was a previous minister at a church that was towards downtown. He's like, they asked me to come and bring some students and to help lead a camp at this church. And it's kind of, he's like, you're going to come with me. We're going to do this Monday through Friday. And I did it. And then afterwards, I remember he brought me into his office and he's like, well, you did a good job. Here's what you need to do different next time. But he believed in me. He just gave me the chance, and that was the first time I was like, okay, this was very uncomfortable, but also I kind of liked it. And I think that was probably one of the first times.
That describes ministry.
I know, that's right. That is literally every day. She's like, how was your day? A little uncomfortable, but I still liked it. But I think, even in my student ministry experience, we had opportunities to go serve and mission trips and to have that experience and to have leadership opportunities where I just think back to my experience. It was kind of similar to yours. There were so many, I can't even name them all. There were so many adults, and it wasn't even a huge church, but there were so many adults. For us, it wasn't life group, it was Sunday school teachers who just constantly were pointing out, you should do this. I want to give you, and they, not just to me, but to others too.
Right. Yeah.
Huge discipleship. But we talked about that this morning in our meeting, right? The primary thing the church does is making disciples.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, that leads well into this next thing. I think for us as a church, and what do we do with this kind of crisis? And I think you kind of spoke to that though too. Just encouraging people, trying to equip them and disciple them, and whatever the Lord has for them ultimately. You guys have any other?
Yeah, I think we need to be careful with saying you're called. Because we don't know that.
Right.
I don't know about anybody, but I do think encouraging people for what their life could be. If they follow this path, trying to help them discern their heart. I do think probably an overcorrection. So it's great that as the church we emphasize how everyone is a minister, right? Because they are. But I think maybe a little overcorrection is we don't say, and God is coming to people at camp and saying, hey, that's you. You're not gonna do this anymore. You're gonna do this for me. Hey, this desire for music, you're gonna do that for me. God is doing that, and I think we're maybe afraid to celebrate that we should. And then I would just say, and I love and I just pray for you to stay humble, all three of you, and passionate. Ministry cannot be a career for you. It has to be a calling. I remember when we moved down here, we had built our own house. It was much nicer than my current house. And so I think people probably think we came to First Baptist Church of Niceville, in the county. Niceville's kind of, a little uppity town, and First Baptist, But I I was like, I'm taking an effectual pay decrease, sorry, and my house is going to be so much not as nice.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah.
but I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like that's not what this is about. You know, this is about where is the Lord calling. And I remember having that conversation with my wife and just being like, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm feeling, here's the implications, and she was just like, where you go, I go.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what the Lord's leading us to do, that's what we do.
Right.
And I do think like the Lord kind of sifts that out. And so the people who are genuine, which I believe these three are genuine, he kind of sifts the others out. And I mean, that's harsh way to say that, but like you probably have friends who feel called to ministry who they will not be.
Yep.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's some of
For
it's
the long term. Yeah.
they just really they have a divided heart, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I hope that wasn't too
No, that's
No,
good.
it's
harsh.
good.
Yeah.
No,
That's right.
no.
Yeah,
It's great.
that's great.
Well, that's wonderful. We're so glad that you guys are following the Lord with your whole heart and seeking Him, because that's the best place to be. And we're
And
happy.
the second best place to be is here for the summer. So we're glad you're here.
Yeah, we're so happy
Not a
you
bad
guys
place to
here.
be for the summer.
Yeah, yeah.
Not at
At
all.
the beach with
That is-
friends.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Well, we have a game to play. So
So scared.
You should be.
This won't be super complicated. I mean, I have pages here, guys. So we're playing Jeopardy, kind of.
Oh,
Church on
gosh.
Bayshore
Yeah.
style.
Oh, goodness.
So originally we were going to just do Bible trivia, but then
Okay.
I felt like
Okay.
y'all were just going to cream them
Okay.
because you have your PhDs.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
after the last attempt, so I was like, okay, we got to mix some other things in here. So we have Bible trivia as a heading, or 2010. This is kind of difficult. I was like, what generation do I wanted to go 2000s. I'm like, they were just not even.
Alive.
We could
Yeah.
We had to,
That's so
2010
true.
through 2025 pop
one.
culture. Yeah. Or a Bible verse or Taylor Swift. I think you guys have probably done something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Similar,
I got
but I thought this
Yeah,
is
there
a
you
good
go.
group.
Carry the
Okay.
team.
Yeah.
I felt sad that like I'm like me and Alaina are going to compete in that.
Yeah. That's
So,
Okay.
You can pick a category, and then whoever answers it first gets the points. And the points aren't real, so I'll try to
Okay.
They go first.
keep track.
We're letting the young people go first.
Yeah, so old guys versus the
okay.
Oh, okay, okay.
guys. So.
Can take it.
Okay, so go ahead. Pick a.
Category.
You wanna
Do we
pick
like buzz in, or we just say whoever?
Just say it.
Okay.
Yeah, whoever.
Okay, so God has freed me from idolization of celebrities, but I still have my knowledge of Taylor Swift, so I'm gonna go with Bible verses or Taylor Swift for 500.
Oh, she's going big.
Okay.
500.
All right.
So we can answer first, right? We can.
Yeah, whoever
okay.
answers
Right.
first.
All right.
Okay, so this is the line. When it rains, you are here, and when it rains, you are gone.
Taylor Swift.
Bible. Oh well, he already answered.
I was thinking Bible.
Is Taylor Swift.
Oh yes.
Hey,
Good
fine.
job.
I'm glad I answered first.
What song is that from?
I don't know.
I was thinking Coming with the Rain, maybe,
Oh.
or something like that. I don't know. She's a lot of songs about rain.
That's
so
true.
there-
It's a great
Could go
metaphor for a lot of
ways.
things in
Yeah.
life.
Okay, so we have
Okay,
500
good job.
points.
All right, so we got that. Okay.
Gosh dang
I
it.
have a pen.
That's
And I
right.
could cross that.
I'm gonna go. We'll go with pop culture for 100. We're gonna go with a softball, hopefully.
Okay.
first.
According to Billboard, who is the highest grossing rock tour of 2023?
Harry Styles.
Good answer. 2023. Beyonce.
Post Malone.
Did she tour?
Coldplay.
Oh.
Really?
Wow.
They're still touring.
They have-
2023. They have a big European
Okay.
following, though.
That's
I mean, they're
true.
great.
That's true.
They're great
They're
band.
more
I've heard their
lukewarm play
concerts are
now.
great.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
saw them in Seattle one time.
Sorry. I like Coldplay.
They're
All
allowed.
right.
They're allowed out that late.
Thought Post Malone was good.
I heard their concerts are great.
I'm sure. Yeah,
I'm
they're
sure they are.
incredible bands.
Yeah.
Okay, interns, you guys get to pick.
Go for it, John.
Oh no.
Get it?
Let's do Bible trivia
Okay.
for 200.
Okay. Who wrote the shortest book in the Old Testament?
Old Testament.
In the Old Testament.
Just one of the minor prophets.
Who wrote it?
Yeah, Haggai.
What's the name? Yeah, it's one of the. It's one of the minor.
Jonah?
No.
It's one of the minor prophets.
Jonah's 4
It-
chapters, isn't it?
It's.
Is it a
We
male?
talked about this actually.
It's
2
one of-
semesters
it's
ago.
one of the
Fall
minor- it's
semester.
one of the minor
I think I
prophets.
should have gotten this verified.
Oh, we
Remember
did
fall
talk
semester,
about
yeah.
this.
It's one of the minor prophets.
It's gotta be.
Does Obadiah sound?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
That's what
right.
I was
There you
thinking.
go.
I was like,
Obadiah.
Okay,
I was
okay,
thinking
never
Kelly
Obadiah.
gets-
I was just
should've
going to start
said
saying
it,
them all, but
I know, I was
already
going to
said
start
an
singing the
answer.
song. Like,
mind.
sing about Old
said the
Testament
song,
songs.
Obadiah. I was thinking that.
So,
It's
okay.
all right.
You guys pick up.
I mean, I preached for them too and didn't remember that, so you know.
It's okay.
You pick.
Me? Oh,
Yep.
let's go. Did we do pop culture for 2? Because
No,
you
we
just
didn't.
scratched that out.
Yeah.
I didn't think
I'm sorry.
Obadiah was
Trivia.
pop culture.
That was Bible
There we
trivia.
go.
Okay, pop culture for
So
2.
cool. Okay. Pop culture for 200. What 2021 album marked Adele's return after a 6-year hiatus?
No idea of the name.
Um,
Yeah, Mel.
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the album.
That was the album?
No, what
Oh.
2021 album marked her?
Hello?
I thought she was the one who named it after the years.
Adele?
Oh!
That is not the name. No points awarded.
How old was she? How old was she?
Oh,
How old?
30, 31, 32,
Oh,
33,
Y2K?
34, 35, 36.
Oh, 30. No, we don't get any points for that. We don't get any.
I would have lost points in Jeopardy, so.
Also, don't forget we're supposed to say what is or who
What
is.
is 30?
We're not doing that right.
That's true.
Okay.
It's their turn. It's
All right,
Joseph's turn, right?
My turn.
Yep.
We'll go back to Bible verse for Taylor Swift. Do 300.
For 300. Okay. You have seen many things, but you pay no attention. Your ears are open, but you do not listen.
Bible.
Yes.
Oh, it's the Book of Job?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
I didn't write how much this was.
We
That
got
was
500 on our first
Yeah.
It's
one.
500.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
All right.
We need those points.
Yes, right.
Okay.
The only
you
points
guys, your
scored are in that
turn.
column.
So
So
we did.
300, Taylor Swift's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go Bible Trivia 100. Start with the low one.
What is the name of the high priest who mentored Samuel?
Eli.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I affirm your answer.
Right, good.
Right, that wasn't Taylor Swift.
It's not Elijah or Elisha.
I'm so sorry.
It's hard to read.
You
Right
just want
upside down.
that? You want
Yeah,
that for
we
you?
can read upside
No,
down.
it's okay,
Okay,
y'all.
okay,
Taylor
okay.
Swift does have a song about a boy named Eli, so.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Sure she
Turns.
does.
You guys pick a
All the other
category.
ones.
That's right.
Oh, what category? Me turn?
Yes, your turn.
Me turn.
300 pop culture. I meant, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
What? Now think about this. This was an epic movie. So
Okay.
it was a really good movie. Sci-fi film released in 2 parts.
Avengers.
Hunger Games.
Game.
2021, 2024, based on a Frank Herbert novel.
Aw.
21, 20, 20.
Sci-fi.
part.
2021,
Is that
2024.
Dune?
Yes.
What was it?
There you go. Good
Dude,
job. I did not see those
Yeah.
movies.
Good job.
I
Great
did
movies.
not see
They,
those
they
movies.
looked they looked boring.
They looked so
Because-
long.
I know.
You have
so
to watch.
long.
You have to watch the first one and the second one to actually
Okay.
understand it. Because I watched the second one first.
Oh, that would.
But once I watched,
I would
them
be
both,
asleep.
Yeah.
They were great movies.
I slept
Yeah.
through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they were
In the
good.
theater.
I fall asleep in the theater. So that's
No,
okay.
yes.
Very
In
good.
those Dolby chairs.
Yeah.
I woke up to
Okay.
like fighting. It was scary.
Those reclining. I'm like, I spent more, and I'm just gonna go to sleep.
It's a really expensive nap.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Our pick?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
pick.
Let's go pop culture 400. We'll.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though this isn't good for us, actually.
Spare is the name of a memoir penned by what notable figure?
Oh, the Prince, Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Prince here. You sound
Prince.
so old.
Prince guy.
The Prince here.
The Prince, Harry. Because Christy read, I didn't read it. Christy read it. I knew that one. Yeah.
Okay, well, 2 more.
She was like, he's so
Unless-
annoying. By the end of this book, you're so annoyed with him. That's what she said.
We can't only do 2 more.
Okay, you want to do all of them?
Yeah,
I'm
of
sitting
course.
there.
All right,
All right.
of
course.
I know.
There we
I'm
go.
saying.
Go ahead.
John?
Oh. We'll do pop culture 500 then.
All
Okay.
right.
The last one.
Released in 2017, what colorful, squishy plush
Squishmallow.
toy-
I was about to say square.
Yes.
I know that because of Joanna.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Good job,
Good job, guys.
Squishmallows.
I have
My
2 on
kids.
my bed right now.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, I have 2 on my bed as well.
Yeah. Let's go.
Nice.
All right,
Do
these are
y'all need to bring him into the office? You're like,
we should.
Esther has 47 in her
Yes.
room.
Wow.
Not really, but
That's a lot.
She has a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Okay, you guys, you can pick a category.
Bible or Taylor Swift for 2.
I once believed love would be burning red.
Taylor Swift.
But it's
I was, man.
Yes,
Mm,
yes.
Get it.
Quick.
Good job. Okay. All right. Are we over here? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you guys.
So we just got 3 there and 1 left there, right?
Okay, let's go over to Bible trivia then for 300 then.
Yeah.
We'll go down the
Sounds
list.
In which epistle does Paul quote is it Cretan?
Titus.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes and yes. Titus
Cretans
and
are
Cretan.
always the quote. Okay.
Evil gluttons.
Nice job.
Beast. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we needed that.
I feel
Let's
like this is kind of neck and
let's
neck.
go Bible trivia 400.
Okay. What Old Testament figures, this is easy, donkeys spoke to him?
Balaam. Sorry, Balaam.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, wait a
Balaam.
minute.
I said Balaam,
Balaam's
and
the
then
guy. Yeah, I was like,
I had
wait a
a
minute.
tickle in my throat.
That's funny.
Yeah. We got that.
All
Yeah.
right. You want to pick a category?
Taylor Swift.
Sure.
All right, let's just
Sounds
finish
great.
it
Our
off.
goal is to take Alaina down on this one.
Which one?
400.
I don't know.
400.
There's
There's
always
only-
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I talk to God, but the sky is empty.
Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Better.
Yeah.
Oh, it's bigger than the whole sky, isn't it, or something?
Man,
like that.
there's a lot of.
Dear
That
John.
one is cool. I
That
feel like-
sounded like Job. A lot of these Taylor Swift
Dear
lyrics
John,
sound like
John's
they could
Bible
be
book.
in the book of Job. I was like, that might be Job.
Yes.
All right. So
That's sad.
I think we won.
it's 500 left.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Close.
Unless we get this.
Yeah,
Unless we get this 500.
500.
Okay,
500
this is gonna
left.
be easy.
There's only one
Which
left,
one is
right?
that?
Yeah, just one.
Is
It's
this
Bible
Bible
trivia
or
500.
500.
500. Yeah.
What is the score so we know if this is like...
I can't
Quick
do
math.
the math that
Here.
fast.
It's
There's no way.
not close.
I think it is. You
Well,
guys
you guys got
have
those last two
6,
400s, though.
11.
Yeah, you guys.
You called them the kids?
You're going to remember that in summer.
1,300.
That's right.
We got 4, 8, 11, 15, 19. Oh, no. We won no matter what. Oh,
It's fine. We're going to get it right anyways.
All right, so free for all.
It was close.
As
It was close.
As in Bayshore students,
guys,
the
Bayshore
last one
students,
always
the last
counts
The last
for
one
me.
always counts.
Okay. Winner. Whoever
takes
gets this
all?
wins.
As
We
a
good?
Bayshore
Winner gets this?
Sounds good.
We
Shake
good?
on it.
Good.
Shake
Sounds
on
good.
it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, I don't know what the prize is
I'm
here.
not shaking, so
Bragging
I'm
rights for the whole summer.
Well, I shook for us. Sorry. I get you in all kinds of trouble. I agree to all kinds of things that you're going to end up having
I
to
know,
figure out
that's
what
right.
the
You'll figure it out.
Something else you have to deal with in ministry.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Who restored Paul's sight after the Lord blinded him?
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
wait, what's
The
his
high priest, right? No. Go
Um,
to...
His name is like.
Trivia.
I know his name.
It's not.
I should have... It's not Kai. It's...
I want to say I'm going to be wrong. Whatever I say. So.
Ananias?
It's
I
not.
knew it started with the A.
Ananias.
It wasn't
Ananias.
Ananias.
But I-
That's what I was about to say, but I thought it was.
See,
I was so sick of guessing
that,
myself.
that felt too easy.
Well,
I know,
I was close.
I don't know if that's-
It's an Ias.
Sure, Joseph,
Yeah.
sure.
I knew it was with
But
an
when you
A.
see it out of
I couldn't
context, yeah,
remember.
when you hear the name out of context, it's,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. It's multiple choice.
Well,
good.
they killed us in this category. We did really well in that one, and we
That was
barely
kind of-
beat y'all
Yeah.
on that one.
yeah.
That was the,
yeah, Taylor
that was the
Swift.
That
tiebreaker.
500
You know,
got
honestly,
guys.
that speaks to God's redemptive power.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta
That's
say.
a
about
great
that.
note to end Boggy Talk on.
Yeah, for that. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Boggy Talk. We are so glad you joined in the conversation. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss a beat.